The Shadow in the Hospital Basement, posted by you, Turner, Texas Night Owl, on R Let's Not Meet. I used to work as a night shift security guard in a small hospital in Texas. The job was usually quiet and uneventful, which was fine by me. I liked it that way. My main duty was to do rounds of the different floors, especially the basement, which housed some old medical records, storage, and equipment no one used anymore. The basement always felt eerie, but I chalked it up to the typical vibe of hospitals at night. The lights down there were dim, and my footsteps always echoed in a way that made it sound like I wasn't alone. Over time, I got used to it, until one night when things changed. It was around 3 a.m. when I went down to the basement for a routine check. I went down the stairs and everything was normal. Quiet, empty, just another night. But as I walked through one of the storage areas, I suddenly felt this overwhelming sense of dread. It came out of nowhere, and it made me stop in my tracks. It felt like someone was watching me. I looked around trying to shake it off, but that's when I saw something down the hall. A shadowy figure standing completely still. It looked human-shaped, but I couldn't make out any details. Just a dark silhouette, motionless and silent. My heart started pounding. I'd never seen anyone down there at that hour, let alone something that seemed to appear out of nowhere. I called out, "Hello? Is someone there?" But there was no response. I was about to reach for my radio to call my partner upstairs, but something kept me frozen in place. The shadow started moving, slowly gliding toward me, but without any footsteps. It felt wrong, almost like it wasn't really walking, but just getting closer, inch by inch. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. I kept my eyes on it, and as it got closer, I could feel this intense cold surrounding me. My breath turned visible, like the temperature had dropped by 10 degrees. Finally, I managed to take a step back, and the figure just stopped. It lingered for a few seconds, and then slowly turned and faded into the darkness at the end of the hall. I ran up the stairs as fast as I could and didn't stop until I was back in the brightly lit main floor. My partner saw me and asked if I was okay. I must have looked pale as a ghost myself. I tried to explain, but I couldn't really find the words that made sense. He just shrugged it off as me being tired or imagining things. But I know what I saw. From that night on, I refused to go down to the basement alone. I requested to change shifts and eventually left that job altogether. I still think about that shadow sometimes and wonder what it was, but honestly, I'd rather not know. The Whispering in the Woods, posted by You Forgot My Trail Mix on R Let's Not Meet. A few years ago, I decided to go camping solo for the first time. I'd camped before, but always with friends or family, so this trip was supposed to be a way to clear my mind and test myself a bit. I chose a remote area in the mountains that had a designated campsite, but because it was off-season, I was pretty sure I'd be the only one there. When I arrived, it was beautiful and peaceful, exactly what I'd hoped for. I spent the first day hiking, taking photos and just enjoying the solitude. As evening came, I set up my tent, made a small fire, and relaxed with a book, listening to the sounds of the forest. Eventually, I put out the fire and crawled into my tent to sleep. Around 2 or 3 a.m., I woke up with an uncomfortable feeling. At first, I thought it was just the unfamiliar silence. But then I heard something, a faint whispering. I lay there trying to listen, and sure enough, there was a soft, almost indecipherable murmur coming from somewhere outside my tent. It was like multiple people whispering at once, but I couldn't make out any words. My heart started to pound as I strained to hear. I reminded myself it could be the wind, or animals rustling nearby. But deep down, it felt different, like someone was right outside. Just as I convinced myself to open the tent flap and take a look, the whispering stopped. The forest was dead silent again. I sat there wide awake for what felt like hours, but eventually I drifted off. In the morning, I tried to brush it off as my imagination. But as I was packing up, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Around my tent, in the dirt, were footprints, bare human footprints. They circled my tent multiple times and led off into the woods. I didn't stick around to see if anyone was still nearby. I threw my gear in my car and drove out of there as fast as I could. I still don't know who or what was out there that night, but I haven't been camping alone since.